Welcome to another episode of Sports and Discourse with your host, Derek Stevenson. And on today's episode, I want to talk about Kentucky's newest recruit, Adou Thiero, right? And this could be a long time coming, right? Because a lot of the fans lately have been kind of upset. They've been feeling like Calipari's recruiting a whole lot of players that aren't really interested in Kentucky basketball, and they're more interested with the name on the back of the jersey than the one on the front, right? And maybe Adou Thiero could change all of that, right? This guy previously was, I think he was a 2-star, and even some recruiting companies didn't even have him ranked yet, right? And Calipari has, got in contact with this kid. He took an official visit, and this is somewhat considered a legacy recruit for John Calipari because for those of you who may not know, Adou's father played for Calipari at Memphis, right? So there's some family ties there, right? And I know technically his father played for Memphis, but he's a John Calipari guy, and he probably always wanted his son to play for Calipari. And from what I'm hearing, his son has always kind of wanted to follow in his father's footstep and be coached by Calipari. And there you have it. Adou Thiero is now officially a Kentucky Wildcat. And I think this could potentially be really good for the program, right? Because finally we have a kid that he might be looking at his career and his time in Kentucky and not potentially seeing himself playing 1 year and going to the NBA. He could potentially be seeing himself maybe playing 3 or 4 years at Kentucky and eventually developing his game and becoming a very impactful player to help the Wildcats and hopefully help them win a championship, right? And, a lot of fans have been going so back and forth about, do you want top-notch recruits? Do you want lesser recruited players that could potentially be here longer, right? A lot of fans, I heard, one of their biggest gripes is they don't know the players, right? So they always complaining that, every year it's a different group of guys, and I never really get to develop any kind of, connection with some of these players. So maybe this could be the start of a change in the culture of Kentucky basketball, if you will, right? Of course, John Calipari is always going to mix in a few 5-star recruits because, at the end of the day, he's always said he wants the best players he can get, and he wants to, try to help these kids achieve their dreams and become eventually NBA basketball players, right? And that's one thing he's been doing very well at Kentucky. Nobody can, take that away from him or knock him from that. He developed in pros better than a farm system in Major League Baseball, right? But at the end of the day, it kind of leaves fans feeling a little empty. Like I've heard a lot of people just say, like, I don't even watch Kentucky basketball as much as I used to because I don't know the players. Every year I got to figure out who's who. I don't know who's staying, who's coming back, who's leaving. It's always a bunch of confusion around the players. But maybe potentially this could be the start of Calipari mixing in, some lesser recruited players, some lower ranked guys, and trying to really develop these kids into becoming better basketball players that can eventually help him win championships at Kentucky. And for me personally, I kind of like the idea because, I've always actually supported getting the best players and trying to win the championship with the best group of players, whether you have to get new guys every year or not. I've always really been a big supporter of how he's ran the program. But lately, I do have to admit, I'm kind of hungry for some more success, right? We haven't seen the Final Four in a while. We haven't seen the championship in a while. And I feel like I'm getting the itch again. Like I feel like we need to have a big, successful run soon, right? And maybe it's time to change up some things, right? And this could be the start of it. You get a guy in here, he's humble, he's hungry, he's not thinking ahead, he's not thinking about next year when he's going to be in the NBA. He's thinking about Kentucky and how impactful he can be at Kentucky. And, you know, I heard some reports that, you know, he's not even really even sure what his role is going to be, but he's just excited and happy to be a part of Big Blue Nation and to try to develop and become better. And, you know, he's here for the long haul, it seems. And if he ends up developing faster than normal and he ends up being able to go pro, then more power to the kid. But I do like the idea of mixing some of these guys in with some of these higher recruited kids, because at the end of the day, if you can take some guys like Adou Thiero and maybe his junior or senior year, he's a really developed and polished veteran, and then you throw some other guys in, some raw, talented young guys in around Adou, maybe Adou could lead them to a championship, right? Maybe he's a 3-star talent right now, but maybe he could develop into a potential lottery pick talent. And maybe he eventually could lead Kentucky to a championship. And maybe he could end up becoming a Kentucky legend. And hopefully Calipari will start to mix things up. I know he's been going to the transfer portal a lot, which is, you know, something that's different for Kentucky. We normally just, you know, 5-star freshmen with maybe a 4-star here and there. But mostly everybody that played at Kentucky was 5 or 4 stars. So I kind of like the idea of him mixing it up a little bit. Grab you some veterans out of the transfer portal. Then mix it in with some long-term guys that might be lower ranked recruits, but might be more committed to the program, and then throw you a couple of 5 stars in with them just for the raw talent, and then see what you can do, man. You might be able to create a very great chemistry and have a successful team for several years in a row. Because usually what happens is Kentucky has a very strong team, and then they might lose a lot of players and go backwards for a year or two and then build it back up. And we actually haven't even seen that happen, you know, real recently. So hopefully this could be a turn of events for the future of Kentucky basketball that could end up becoming very positive for us. But, you know, my thoughts about Adou Thiero, I actually think it is going to take him some years to develop physically, because he seems to be like long and, you know, slim. I think if I remember correctly, he might have grown like 6 inches in his senior year. He actually, you know, he's a slow, late developing kid, right? And he seems like he's going to be lengthy and rangy, defensive oriented. A guy that eventually I'm going to end up bringing on my show, this guy named Justin Harris, he was making a comment and saying that he kind of reminds him of DeAndre Liggins, right? And I can kind of see the comparisons. Like, DeAndre was a little bit more physically developed than Adou was, you know, at this same point in time. But they kind of do seem like they kind of have the same style of game. And DeAndre Liggins ended up becoming a great defender. Initially, he was playing point guard in high school, and he moved more to like a small forward position. He was a decent ball handler with some good size and very strong on the defensive end. And he ended up being able to develop at Kentucky and eventually have a pro career. It ended shortly due to some off-the-court issues. But, you know, hopefully Adou can end up having that same type of a career where he comes in, he gets, you know, develops physically, fine-tunes his game, polishes up, and eventually, you know, in his 3rd or 4th year, he can be a very strong piece of hopefully a championship puzzle at Kentucky, man. And hopefully, you know, that's a sign of things to come. I'm not for sure if Kentucky's going to add any more pieces this year or not. I'm sure they probably still looking to shore some things up. Still gonna kind of wait and see how things are going to unfold. You know, see who's going where, who's staying in the draft, who's not. You know, it's a lot to try to figure out these days. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to see a lot of this Adou Thiero kid in the future, and fans will finally be able to say that once again, they know the players on the team and they have players that's competing and care about the name on the front of the jersey, which is Kentucky, the big blue nation, the greatest school in the country. And eventually we can get back to winning some championships, man. But anyways, let me know, what do y'all think? Have you got to look at this kid yet? Are you okay with Calipari recruiting some lesser ranked kids? Or do you think he should stick with the 5 stars like he's been doing, man? Let me know what you think, and we'll get back at it next time. Sports and Discourse, Derek Stevenson.